Okay, so let's talk about GarageBand. So if you want to follow along with the class notes, and here's just an outline of the things that I'll talk about, along with a little class activity we'll do at the end. All right, so first thing, open up GarageBand. So if you don't see it on your side menu, right, or your bottom menu, go to Applications, and then GarageBand. All right, I already have it opened. Okay, so you should get something that looks like this. Okay, so the first thing, let's go to our menus. So we have nice menus at the top, just like we do in anything else. Here's File, we can open, close, and save. Here's we can edit, right? We can cut, paste, copy, do all that good stuff. Here's where we're actually going to be able to split our clips and join our clips, so edit will be important. Tracks, so we have new tracks, we can delete, we can do all good things with tracks. And when I say tracks, that's what all of these are. These are all different tracks. We can share, so this is how we'll actually export to our desktop. Okay, and then we can view. So if you ever toggle in and out of stuff and you want to get those pieces back, you can just go to the view and then you can get things back. Right? So if you don't see something that you're used to, then go to view and click it and it'll be there. All right? So now I want you to keep in mind that GarageBand is a very complex program specifically designed for music, to create music and to create very sophisticated music. We're going to use it to create podcasts. And that's a very simplistic way to use GarageBand. So some of the stuff in GarageBand, a lot of the stuff in GarageBand, we're not going to talk about. Right? Okay, so the first thing, the view I talked about, where you can do library, smart controls, editors, all that good stuff. A lot of that comes up over here too with these toggle buttons. So here's a toggle button for your library, and here's my library, right? I can do voice. And when I say library, this is how I'll actually get tracks. So you can see here's narration, bright, classical, fuzz. So we have some kind of weird enhancements. So here's megaphone. We can do helium. So we sound like someone that's inhaled helium. We have monster, robot. That all comes from my library. If I don't want to see my library, I just toggle it off. Okay. The next thing is we have a nice little question mark. So this is probably one of the best features. If I click on this, anywhere I go, right, it'll give me a nice little quick help tip. Right. So if I don't know what this is, there's a quick help tip. Right. So all this stuff, you'll see when I hover, it lets me know what I'm hovering over. Okay. So that's a great thing. So here's the mixer, which is down here at the bottom. Right? So we're definitely not going to mix things. Again, there's some complicated things that you can do with music that we're not going to do. Okay, here's the nice the scissors. We're going to need this. This is what will give us our editor. Okay, and just like any kind of audio or video editor, we're going to have a nice little editing section. Right? We can cut clips, delete clips, resize clips, all that good stuff. Then we have our actual play buttons here. So rewind, fast forward, stop, play, record. And then here's just our display. So here's what I would guess is for complicated music things, or we can just switch it to time. So if we don't really care about, beats and all that good stuff. And over here is for music. So we can do cycles. We can actually do a tuner. So if you, wanted to tune an instrument, you could. You can do the counting, the metronome. So all that's for the music stuff. Okay. And again, we're not going to talk about the music, just podcast stuff. Okay. And our last three, we have a notepad. So if you wanted to take notes, you could just type in notes. Okay, and we have Apple Loops. This is where we'll get all our sound effects. This is where we'll get, other music stylings, other kind of snippets of music. So all that stuff we can actually import and just drag over. One thing to note, if I want to select anything, let's say sound effects. I select sound effects. And now here I can select different parts of sound effects, but anything that's not highlighted isn't on my computer yet. So the only thing I have is this Bailey Background 3. You'll see if I scroll down, I have some more at the bottom here, so I can do a brick wall, zap, beat. So if they're highlighted, stand out in white, I have them on my computer. If you want them, just click the arrow, and you'll actually install that particular sound effect. Right? And you can get specific, so let's do, acoustic. I have all these for acoustic, ensemble, I have those for ensemble, urban, I have a few, so you can get more specific. Okay? And once you start getting specific, you'll notice it limits your options. If you want to get rid of all your choices, just hit reset. Okay, but that's how we'll actually get sound effects and things like that. Those are the Apple Loops. Okay, and then we also have a media center. So here's audio. I can go to My iTunes. So I can pull in things from My iTunes, right? So here's all the music I can pull in. If I had movies, right, in my movies, I can pull them in. If I had photos, I could pull them in. Okay, and back to audio. If I had GarageBand stuff, if I put it in my GarageBand folder, then I can actually pull it in. Okay, so that's how I can import extra media. All right, so let's start with how to record. So one thing is there's a lot of tracks here. So let's get rid of tracks. All I want to do, actually let's get rid of them all. So if I highlight them and hit delete, it deletes the track. All right, so let's just delete them all. Okay, and before I get to my last one to delete, let's turn off our editor. So I'll do my editor. So I just have my track. You'll notice if I delete this now, it's going to pop up with this nice little kind of screen of choices. It says, well, you deleted all your tracks, you must want to do something else, right? So do you want to play music from your Mac? Do you want to record using a microphone? Do you want to record a guitar, or do you want to just add drums, right? So we're going to just do this microphone, create. You can see now it gives me my audio. Okay, so this is just a regular old audio for, just off the microphone. Okay, if I don't want the audio, if I want to get, something kind of clever, I go to my library. And remember, if it's toggled off, you just hit this kind of drawer looking thing. I go to voice. Okay, and now here are all the things I can do. I can add a bright vocal. So you see I just changed that audio to a bright vocal. I can change it to classical. I can do a compressed vocal. I can do all this stuff. Here's my experimental. So here's where I get the weird kind of sound effects. I can change it to a helium. So that's how I can change my actual track. So let's just do a classical vocal for now. Let's get rid of our video library. You'll notice, let's add one more track here. So let's do a plus. I want to do another microphone. And then let's do a bright vocal. Okay, you'll notice now on the tracks I have some buttons. The first is I can actually just mute this entire track. Right? I can do the headphones, which makes this track solo, which means all the other tracks are muted. Okay, and then I have a little Wi-Fi signal, so I'm not sure what this does, so I'll hit the question mark, I'll hover over it, and it looks like it's the monitoring button, so I guess this is useful when setting levels or practicing parts before recording. Sounds like a cool music thing to me. Here's I can set my actual volume. So this volume, I can lower it or I can raise it. Okay, and I can set the pan, so I can either go left or right. All right, we already did the plus sign. This is how I can add new tracks. Okay. To the right here, this is actually the volume. So if I click on this, you'll see I actually have volume drop-down menus now that I can do, more stuff with. So I can echo, reverb, low cut, so I can actually play with the volume. And then this is the playhead. So if I click on this, so right now when it's engaged, you'll see as I record, the playhead will actually follow my recording. If I click off of this, then I'll be recording things that I can't really see visually. And you'll see what I mean when we start recording. Okay, and when the volume came up, you'll see we have a little toggle button. This will actually enable us to change the volume within certain parts of our audio. Okay, and I'll show you that when we get some audio. Okay, so let's get some audio. So I want classical, then I'll go up to record, and you can see it just starts recording, and you can see visually what my voice is doing right now. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I stop recording. It still plays, so I stop. And now you can see that's what I meant by this toggle button right here. My playhead is in the middle of my screen, and it'll always be like that. If I don't do this, and I'll show you that in a second, okay, I won't actually see what I'm doing. I'll just have one set screen. All right, so let's move our playhead back, and we can move our playhead like we do anything else. Just grab it and move it. All right, now let's record the bright vocal. So now I'll hit record, and you can see now I'm recording on that second one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll stop recording, I'll stop my playhead, and you can see my playhead is actually, and let's even keep going so you can see. So if I hit record, my playhead's gonna go outside my field of vision, and that's what this button does. So if I click this, now you'll see I'm actually following my playhead. Okay, so that's the button. All right, so let's stop that. Let's scroll to the right. This was just to show you the playhead. I don't want that, so I'll click, see it's highlighted, and I'll hit delete, and it's gone. And I can just click anywhere at the top to get my playhead back. All right, so now I have 2 tracks. Right? I'll hit this little left, so I'm going to go right to the beginning. I have classic voice 1 and a bright vocal 2. Okay, I can, at any time I want, grab these and move them anywhere I feel like. Okay, so you don't have to put them or keep them where they originally were recorded. So that's how I can mix them around if I want. So I can overlap the actual audio if I wanted to. I can actually grab them on the end at the top here, and I can resize them. I can make them bigger and smaller. Okay, so now let's talk about these little volume levels. You'll see I have a nice little yellow line here, and I can grab this line anywhere I want. I can put little dots in this line just by clicking. All right? And if I put dots by clicking, what happens is now I can grab those dots and change the volume. Let's say I want to fade in my volume. I do something like this, all right? So it's going to have no volume, and then it's going to fade into this volume, all right? So if I put it back to where it was initially, all right? So just at kind of regular volume, you'll hear when I play this, and you can see it just starts recording, and you can see, okay, and that's the classical one. If I go back and change it, so then I fade in, Now when I play, see, it just starts recording, and you can see how it faded in. I want to make it more drastic. You can see, how about this? Let's go to beginning. I'm hitting spacebar to play. It just starts recording, and you can see visually what my voice is doing right now. And you can hear what's going on. So if I want to take this and drag it down, so I fade in, then I can fade out. 1, 2, 3, 4. I stop recording. Okay, so that's how we can fade in and fade out. You can see it as soon as it starts the next one. See, now I'm recording on that second one. There you go. It just plays the second one. Okay, so now if we want to add actual audio that we didn't produce ourselves, let's go to the Apple Loop. Okay, let's actually add a sound effect. So I'll do this Bailey background. I just click it, and I hold and I drag. And you can see it gives me a new track. And I'll toggle off the Apple Loop so I can see my space. And now you'll see if I go to the beginning, it just starts recording, and you can see visually what my voice. Okay, I have some nice background music, and I can do sound effects. I can do whatever I want. So now let's look at how we might edit. Before we go to editing, again, even if I drag and drop, if I click and hold, I can move this wherever I'd like. All right, so I can always move tracks. Right? And I can even shorten my sound effects. And if I wanted to, I could click and delete them. All right. If I hit undo, Control Z, I get everything back. So there's an undo redo feature in GarageBand, which is nice. All right, let's go to editing. So I want to edit. You can see right now I've selected the Bailey background. That's why it's down here. If I select anything else, then I get that audio to edit. So let's edit our first vocal. First thing is I want to get a little bit more space. So I'm going to drag my cursor until I see this kind of double arrow. I'm going to click and hold my mouse button and then just drag up to give me some more space here. Okay, so now what do we have? We have the same little playhead button, so it'll follow my playhead as I play. Okay, I can actually play this by hitting the space bar, or I can play it by hitting this play button. I don't know, entirely why you'd want to do that, but I guess you could. Just like any video or audio editor, I have a nice little zoom feature here, so I can zoom in. Right, you can really see the waveforms if I zoom in, or I can zoom out. All right, so it's up to you on how much space you think you need to see what's going on. And then just like any video editor, I can place my playhead, and then I can cut the actual clips. So here's where I'll go to edit, and I'll split the region at the playhead. And now you'll see I have 2 clips. So if I want to get rid of one, I select it, hit delete, and then that part's gone. So that's how I can edit out the audio I don't want. So as I go through and listen, it just starts recording, and you can see visually what my voice is. So let's say I get to here, and there's a nice space. I don't want this pause. Right? So let's do this clip at playhead. So split region at playhead. Let's go a little bit farther down the line. Right, so let's say this is something goofy. Split at playhead. Let's select it, and then we'll delete it. Okay, so I can delete things I don't need. Or maybe at this point, I don't want any music. For some reason, I want a dramatic pause. So let's actually do our Bailey background. And here, what I'm going to do is let's clip it. Then I'll keep going until I get to my next part. And you can see I'm matching up this playhead with this playhead to know where my gap is. Right? We could always just do Command T to clip. We don't have to keep going to this menu bar. All right, then I hit here and I click it. Okay, and then let's play it and see what it sounds like. So when I hit play, you'll notice I went right back to the beginning. I'm doing that because this top part is highlighted in orange. So if I unclick that, then you'll see if I put my playhead somewhere and I hit play, it'll go right from that place. Okay, so if you're ever going right back to the beginning, just make sure your time isn't highlighted in orange, right? So it always plays over. Okay, so that's how we can actually add and edit music. So let's do this. Let's get rid of our editor. Let's get rid of all of our music. So I'll just highlight it all. So to do that, I just clicked and I hold my mouse button, and then I highlight it all and I hit delete. Let's get rid of these vocals. I want to delete all the data. I'm going to delete this one just because I don't want to deal with all these different volume changes. So if I delete that, say yes. I want to do a new microphone. So let's go to our audio library, and I'm going to make this something weird. So let's do a helium voice. All right, so I'll change that to helium voice. I'll get rid of my video library, put my play ahead of the beginning, and now when I record, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop recording, stop the playhead, and now when I play this, listen to what it sounds like.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and that's how I get different weird voices. All right, let's say we did all our editing, we like everything we're doing, we need to share this. So we want to go to share, we want to export this song to a disk. And this is our class example. And we want it to be an MP3, and we just hit export. Right, and then you'll see, I go to my desktop, here's my MP3. And if I wanted to play it,
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
it just plays in iTunes. Okay, so that's how we can do our GarageBand. And now this is a file that I can move to my drive. I can move anywhere. All right, so last thing, GarageBand challenge. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to create a 1 to 2 minute podcast describing GarageBand. And you can describe whatever you want into GarageBand, and you can do it however you want and talk about anything you want. All right, but just talk about GarageBand, whatever you think is cool, whatever you think might be interesting for someone to listen to for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, but your podcast must include the following things. You need to have intro music. It needs to be 5 seconds long. Okay, and I want you to fade in the intro music. All right, so low volume to high volume, and I want it to be 2 seconds. All right, so fade in the intro music for 2 seconds, which means out of that 5, I want 2 seconds of that to be from low volume to whatever the volume is you want. Okay, so you're going to have 2 seconds of fading in and then 3 seconds of just solid volume. Okay, then I also want exit music. Make sure whatever music you pick is different than your intro music, and I want the same thing. I want 5 seconds long, but this time I want you to fade out. Go from normal volume and then fade down to no volume. Okay, so in this case, you'll play for 3 seconds on the volume, and then the ending 2 seconds will be your fade out for 2 seconds. Okay, I want you to add 1 Apple Loop music selection, right, or sound effect, whatever you want, right? And obviously the intro and exit music, we're going to come from the Apple Loops, but I want something different, and I want this to be 15 seconds long. I want this to be placed as the background music to any part, whatever 15 seconds of your voice recording, your podcast. Okay, so I want it to be background music for your podcast. And then I want you to make sure you control this music. Right? So if this Apple Loop music, this background music is real high and you can't hear your voice, that's bad. So you need to make sure you control this 15 seconds of background music so I can hear your voice. Okay, I want 2 experimental vocals. I don't care how you use them. I don't care which ones you use. I want 1 standard vocal, right? So the no effects. Just have a nice standard, whether it's classical or bright, but just do a regular vocal, not an experimental one. And then the last thing is I want you to insert this audio file. So if you go to my website, here's this audio file. I want you to insert this somewhere. This is an audio file that I created where I made a bunch of mistakes, so I need you to edit this. So you need to edit out all the stuff that isn't just the part where I say insert this example into your podcast. Okay, and then to share, you need to save your podcast as MP3. You need to upload your podcast to your Google Drive. Then you need to create a new navigation bar named GarageBand. All right, so that sidebar link, I need a new navigation bar named GarageBand, titled GarageBand. And then you're not going to create a new web page. I just want to link to this podcast underneath that navigation bar. Okay, so not a new web page, just a link to this audio file. All right, and that's your challenge.